And we're live with the first episode of the Splendid Live show for fall of 2014. It's been a while since I have hosted a show, but I'm really excited to resume my Splendid Live show's interviews. Today, my guest is Margaret Hankamp. So I'm going to put Margaret on the screen here. So the reason I called Margaret to be on this show is because I met her at a tapping workshop with EFT Universe to learn about tapping. Now, what is tapping? Tapping is a type of energy technique to help move your emotions and process it through your body so that it doesn't get stuck in you and cause you a lot of problems later. So that's how I met Maggie. So Maggie,
okay,
introduce yourself. Let me see. Can I hear you, Maggie?
Yes, T-Ming, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but
the kinds of things I've been tapping on with clients are as follows.
Okay.
For example, I go into many things that are going on in Ukraine, and in Ukraine there are many fearful things going on right now.
Yeah.
The situation where they are under fire for so much, where they're so much in trouble. Turn to the video. And what is happening is I've done 2 videos to handle their fears living in a war-torn country.
Yeah.
So in effect, in Ukraine there is a lot of domestic violence. And so imagine as a young child you grew up seeing dad argumentative, fighting possibly under alcohol influence. Now you've grown up and you thought that's all in the past, seeing the war on the television as often as they do, because they're waking up in the nighttime afraid what's happening. They will be re-triggered again for this. And so what I've been doing is helping them remove some of the traumatic memories of these episodes. And so it relates both to the past, but it starts here today with I am watching a TV show, and right now I am very upset by watching the TV show. So we'll get into that in a few minutes too, but that's one group of people. I held a workshop 2 weeks ago here, and what are some of the fears we got into? A person with neuropathy, both legs, unable to help husband. And so one of the fears we're working on is that she'll be incapable of helping him shortly because of the condition that she's suffering from. Okay? Another person who's at a life-changing moment, a birthday that is very special, not knowing what to do and fearful to leave one job, fearful to start another occupation. And as you know from your work with entrepreneurs, that's a very big fear, to start something other in your life. And then T-Ming, I know you and I had a little conversation. I believe one of the biggest fears we parents have actually relates to our children, okay? And so it can be everything from academic fears to fears about their safety when they're out different places with friends that we may not know totally. So yes, all of those are things that I know the tapping helps with. Tapping lowers your cortisol level. Cortisol, think of it, it's a hormone that's going to come up when you are frightened or want to fight somebody or want to run away from something.
Mm-hmm.
And so most often when we get into that fearful situation, we are imagining, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And oh, what if this happens? And so that's something that we can tap on. T. Ming, may I ask you, do you have any fear that seemed to pop in your mind when I was talking? Or any of our listeners, if they
Mm-hmm.
have a fear that they'd like us to work on?
Well, being a parent of three kids, two teenagers and a twin, I really thought about, yeah, it's true. We don't, I get, I'm fearing when my kids are
Let's
going
go
out
back
and
here. Let's
about,
see.
maybe with people I don't know, and they don't call me on the cell phone to let me know if they have moved from one location to another, just not checking in with me, then I get a little.
Okay, I'm going back and just changing the mute buttons on both of us to see why this is. Okay. If you could, if there's a way to put a comment on the side for each person listening, because I'd love to do a tapping session on a specific. And so, because generalities, we can say, I am fearful.
Hmm.
And that could relate to, I am fearful to go to school today.
Hmm.
I am fearful one of the teachers is going to call on me today. I
Hmm.
am fearful I did not study enough for that test. So school has a multitude of fears that can come up. And so I'll start, I have my little tapping poster in back to reinforce it. But I think it's best we start tapping and we'll start with the karate point. And you
Okay.
could take either your right or left hand
Hmm.
and you will be tapping gently with a couple of fingers if you would like to. And
Okay.
you start out, and it's a formula, even though, and you name what the fear is, be very, very specific.
Right. You have to be
I
specific.
deeply, completely love and accept myself.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
even though I have this fear,
Yeah,
I
even though
deeply,
I.
completely love and accept myself. Or I like to joke, maybe next week I will accept myself and love myself. But your brain doesn't know that. Right now you're saying that, hey, I am accepting myself. So keep on tapping the karate point.
Hmm.
And even though I have this fear, I deeply, completely accept myself. I'm an okay person, even with this fear. So I will keep on. My fear is right now, because I'm getting a one-sided message that
Ah,
something is not going through to you. Okay. And
okay.
tap 7 to 10 times, top of head, where your eyebrows start. Tap
Uh-huh.
7 to 10 times with one hand or
Uh-huh.
both hands. And again,
Uh-huh.
concentrate on the fear. The fear is for me that, yes, you can't hear me and I'm not getting proper reception from you. Okay.
Ah.
On the side of the eye, on the bone itself, right here,
Mm-hmm.
my fear is that I will not hear you. My fear is that I will not hear you. Under the eye, my fear is that I will not hear you. Okay? Under the nose, under the nose. Under the lips, there's a little crevice right here. Tap, tap, tap. My fear. And of course, you're doing your fear, which works well too.
Oh.
Then collarbone, and I'll come up a little bit higher out of my seat. We have a sternal notch. I like to call it the U. And you can either tap on both sides. Some practitioners teach that. I like to take one hand and tap on both sides, like so. And again, my fear, my fear, my fear, my fear. And then actually I'll stand up for this, and about 4 inches down under the armpit, You can do one side. You could do both sides with a nice little hug to yourself. My fear, my fear, my fear. You will see that we do have a point that I'm including here that's just about an inch under the nipple. And so we can tap on that and say, my fear, my fear, my fear. And I like to end up with a calming tapping of the wrists together, several big, deep breaths.
I'm going to put on screen a question from one of our viewers, Mark Davenport. All right, here we go. And let me read it out. It's my fear is that if I agree to do more, that I will lose myself.
Ah, great. Then if I may keep you right here at my side, and we're going to use that. Thank you very much. A fear, if I do too much, I will lose myself. Now that's a pretty big, broad fear, and we're going to tap on it, but we're going to come down closely to some more specifics. But let's start right now with the tapping. Even though I fear if I do too much, I'll lose myself. I accept myself and my feelings of fear. Even though I fear if I do too much, I'm going to lose myself totally. I accept myself and my feelings of fear. And third time, even though I am so afraid I won't exist anymore if I keep doing everything for everyone else, I deeply, completely accept myself and my feelings of fear. Let's go to the top of the head. My feelings of fear. One hand or both hands. Okay. Down to the eyebrow. One hand or both hands. While you concentrate on lose myself, lose myself, lose myself. Under the eye, one hand or both hands. I'm going to lose myself totally. Okay, under the nose, my fear. Under the lips, my fear. Collarbone, 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 collarbone. My fear, my fear. Under the arm, my fear. Under the nipple, about an inch down, my fear is I'm going to lose myself. And then wrists together, and we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. But back to you, while tapping, did a more specific episode of when you did do too much come up?
Actually, Maggie, it was a question by one of our listeners or our audience, Mark, and so I don't see him him on the line anymore. But
Okay.
I can actually apply that to myself. Actually, yeah, it's a fear I share. You know, if I agree more to do more, that I won't have time to be myself or have the freedom to be myself.
Yes, understood. Understood. Now, may I use your fear then, Ming, if I may, please? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Part of
Sure.
what we're doing with this tapping is checking in all the time, and this fear, if you had to say where it was in your body right now. Okay, I have no time to be myself. I have to take care of everyone else. I have to take care of family. I have to take care of schoolwork. I have to take care of my parents. I have no time. I lose myself in all of this. Is there any place? Let's start at your toes. Wiggle your toes around, Ming. See what's happening. Any kind of discomfort. Come up to your ankles. Feel if there's any problem or pain? How about your calves and your shins?
No.
Up to your knees. What's going on with both of your knees? How about into your thighs and your hamstrings? Any problem there?
No.
Let's get up to your hip area.
No.
Any problem in your hips? Let's get in. Let's kind of visualize we're right in your stomach right now, okay? And coming up into your solar plexus and say, is everything okay? Do I feel any discomfort or anything there? How about your chest and your lungs? Ah, Ming, how about your shoulders?
Yeah, shoulders.
Aha. Okay, but do your hands, feel your hands up and down, fingers, any problems, all in your elbows or not. And then come up, and I like to do this kind of as a funny face, but think of your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Have you been smiling too much today? And it's like, oh, my mouth hurts. Or your jaw. Does your jaw bother you right now?
Okay, how about
Okay, that's called a body scan. But you can also just sit there and say,
the throat?
how do I feel right now? And part of what we do with tapping is say, wait a minute, are you feeling a sense of rest, enjoyment, doing what you're doing? Are you feeling a sense of peace, a sense of calmness? But usually your body gives you the answer. How are your shoulders?
Hmm. My shoulders are tight.
Aha. Okay, okay. Now, is the right shoulder worse than the left one? We want to get right into the
Oh,
specifics of this.
okay. You just asked me whether my right shoulder is more tight than my left. Okay, I'm kind of
Yes,
feeling it.
yeah, really get in your shoulders.
I would
Kind of,
say a little bit tighter.
okay.
Little bit.
And then on your right shoulder, I want you to give it a number 0 to 10. For whatever reason, 0 would be, whoa, I'm going out to Zumba right now and I feel great. Okay? 5 is like, maybe, uh-oh, I'm not going to go do anything too much. And 10 is, you don't want to get out of bed. Okay? You really don't want
Okay,
to get
I
out of
would say like a 3.
Great. Okay. Now, why I do the physical stuff is so often, as you know, we've gotten away from how are we feeling? Are we doing things we love to do? Are
Hmm.
we doing things that make us happy? If
Hmm.
we don't, our body starts acting up and it says, hold it right there. It says, I'm sending Ming a message in her body. Stop a minute, see what she can do for herself. Okay? So we're going to start tapping on that, and I'll show you the second place that we can tap on
Uh-huh.
is called a tender point. You come down from your sternal notch a couple of inches, and it's on both sides. There's a neuro-lymphatic drainage point. And so I'll show it to you on myself also. So here's my sternal notch. Come down about 3 inches and over and rub this. Don't tap it, just rub it gently
Okay.
while you say, hey, even though I have this 3 in my shoulders, and the 3 might be related to this fear I'm feeling, I
Uh-huh.
deeply, completely accept myself and my fears.
Okay,
Okay,
so even though
okay,
I have a
neuro
3 level, I deeply and completely accept myself. So you're
yeah.
saying the level of pain is a 3, right? Okay, got it. All right.
I accept myself and my feelings, even though I have this 3 tightness in my right shoulder. We're getting really specific. We want to work just on that side right now. And then
Um,
last time, even though I have this 3 and it's worse in my right shoulder,
Even though I have this 3 and it's worse on my right shoulder,
I accept myself and my feelings.
I accept myself and my feelings.
I'm an okay person.
I'm an okay person.
I'm an okay mom.
I'm an okay mom.
I'm an okay daughter.
I'm an okay daughter.
Okay, top of head. This three in my right shoulder. This three in my right shoulder.
This three in my right shoulder.
And then either one hand or both, where the eyebrows begin. This three in my right shoulder.
This three and my right shoulder.
Okay. Side of the eye on the bone itself. This three in my right shoulder.
This three in my right shoulder.
Then under the eye in the center, but again on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
Tap, 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 tap. This three. This three.
This three. This three.
Then under the nose. This three. This three.
This three. This three.
Then under the lips, Stevie. This three. This three.
This three. This three.
And collarbone. As I say, I like to take my whole hand and get both sides of the lower end of that sternal notch.
Mm-hmm.
That U, that little U right there.
Mm-hmm.
This three, this tightness in my shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then under the arm, about 4 inches down. This three, this
Mm-hmm.
tightness in my shoulder.
This tightness in my shoulder.
Then right under the nipple, about an inch down roughly. This three, this three, this three.
This three.
And
This
then we're
three.
going to stop with a calm, just wrists together, wrists together. And
Okay.
take a couple of big breaths, please. Okay. And let's just do a little scan of our body again, but especially concentrate on your shoulder.
Oh,
Say, hey, what's happened there, shoulder? Now,
hey, it's gone. Like 0.
okay.
And we
Okay.
have Mark back, and he said that for him it's on the chest and throat. Well, actually, for me it was on my throat too. So the feeling where you felt it was uncomfortable.
Okay. Then we want to get, if he's back again, ask
Mhm.
him, as he scans his body, he's saying his chest area, like his heart area, but his
Uh-huh.
throat also. Okay? Which
Uh-huh.
one would be the higher reaction? And can he hear me okay?
I think as it's broadcasting, there's a delay. There's always a delay. But he should be able to hear you. He just might not answer right away. So Mark, if you're there, just either just use the question and answer app, or just
Because I'd
um
like to get
mess
to a real specific, is it
yeah,
worse?
either way.
Fear feeling, which seems to have come up, is it worse in his throat or in his chest?
Hmm. Let me see. Uh.
And I'm looking to see if I can somehow pick
Um.
up what he's not sure. The
Yeah.
questions, if I can get the questions here.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't see anything.
I've got it now. I've got the questions, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Mark, three on the right is what we wanted to hear. Uh, okay, now it looks like, no, we wanted to know, Mark, that this problem in your chest is a stronger discomfort on the right. So stay with us a minute, Mark, if you would, and tell us any other description about it. Is it the whole of the right chest, or is it just a section right here by lower down? Where is it specifically?
Hmm. I don't see anything in the
Okay, okay. Well, you know what? Before we go, May I continue though? The throat is it's our means of expression. Okay? Think of this. You know this from chakras. This
Yeah.
is just a very wonderful place. Our throats are so often, if you do more for other people, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening is often you haven't expressed yourself. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to
Yeah.
your throat teaming a minute.
Okay.
Okay? Are there any times you think of recently where you wanted to say something to someone, but you felt you had to help them, you had to take care of them, you couldn't say what you wanted to say. What your throat chakra was saying, hey, you've got to say this, but you said, no, I won't say that.
Okay, so I think that whenever I maybe deal with my in-laws, my parents-in-laws,
Yes.
that my expression gets blocked because of a cultural thing. You're supposed to always show respect and not really say what's on your mind, even though, it's just the truth.
Yes, yes, I understand. I understand. So if let's make believe that I'm your mother-in-law, okay? And I'm going to tell you something about your cooking teaming, okay? And see if we can get any reaction in your throat. So, you know, listening too. I hope she forgives me, but these are just common things that come up that we can work on
Uh-huh.
that make
Yeah.
our lives so much easier if we understand, yes, we are getting irritated by this. Uh, it's a worry that we have that we're going to lose ourselves, that you won't have time to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make believe I'm your mother-in-law and I'm going to say a comment about your cooking, for example.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay. Matt, can I get your throat to feel what it feels?
Yeah. Okay. So, um, yeah, whenever I hear something that I don't really agree with, but I can't voice my, um, I would say, differing opinion, then, it sure feels suffocating. Like I'm reading Mark's comment right now, and he said for him, yeah, when he tries to do too much and he's afraid
Feel,
he's going to
yes,
lose himself. There's some suffocating feelings in his throat,
yes,
and I think it's the same when everyone cannot express themselves. They feel something like, well, I wouldn't say that everyone, I would say a lot of people feel like they're
yes.
restricted around the throat area.
And yet, what we cannot change anyone else, teammate. You know, I know
Yeah.
from our other
Yeah.
conversations, we know we can only change. I can change Maggie. You can change T Ming. And so, what we want to do is say, wait a minute, T Ming gets a reaction. She hears something she doesn't agree with. Okay, let's take that's a perfect one to work on. Okay, even though I feel a reaction in my throat when and let's do the karate point again. We can go back next time to the sore point, but let's do karate point.
Hmm.
Even though when I hear something I don't agree with, it affects my throat, I deeply, completely, I accept myself and my feelings and my body. Okay?
Hmm.
And it could be either hand, and we do this at least 3 times.
Hmm.
Even though when
Even though
someone says something I don't agree with,
when someone says something I
my
don't agree with,
throat feels constrict. Let's use the word constricted.
okay, my throat feels constricted.
I deeply, completely, I accept myself and my feelings.
I deeply and completely accept myself and my feelings.
So even though if someone says something and I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you,
Hmm. Even though when somebody says something I don't agree with them,
and it affects my throat, it affects my throat,
and it affects my throat,
I deeply, completely accept myself and my feelings.
I deeply and completely accept myself and my feelings.
Okay, let me make believe someone's just said something that you say, oh, that is wrong, wrong, wrong. How high from a 0 being no feeling to a 10 being you'll be like either coughing and not able to breathe at all because you're so upset about it. Give it a number. Just give it a number of some sort.
A 7.
Aha. Okay. So no, this 7, it's stuck in your throat. It's stuck in your throat right now, okay? So we did the even though 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go up to the top of the head and just go 7 in my throat. This 7 in my throat.
Mm-hmm. 7 in my
I
throat.
then eyebrow. This 7 in my throat.
Then
This
the
7 in
7
my throat.
in my throat.
Okay, side of the eye. This 7 in my throat.
The 7 in my
7
throat.
in my throat. And you'll feel the bone,
My
the
throat.
occipital ridge right there. Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Then
Right here.
under the eye in the middle, that's it.
Under the eye.
This 7 in my throat. And you can do one finger or a
The
couple,
7 in
whichever
my
feels comfortable.
throat.
And even if you didn't want to tap, you could just hold your fingers on each of these, okay? Like so.
Okay.
Yeah, this 7 in my throat.
The 7 in my throat, and then just
Under the nose. This 7 in my throat. This
the
7 in my
7 in
throat.
my throat.
Okay. Under the lips, Ming. This 7 in my throat.
The 7 in my throat.
To the collarbone. And again, you could use both hands or just one fist this way. This 7 in my throat.
The
This
7 in
7
my
in my
throat.
throat.
Mm-hmm.
Then under the armpit, you could take one hand and go 4 or 5, 3 inches, 3 to 5 inches under your armpit. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
important point.
Mm-hmm.
This 7 in my throat.
The
And
7
I
in my
hear
throat.
something like that. I get a 7 in my throat. Then you could do an inch under the nipple. Just hold the point.
Mm-hmm.
This 7 in my throat.
The 7 in my throat.
Then wrists together, and we could just hold them. We're learning that we can do this by tapping or just holding the points. Take a couple of deep breaths
Okay.
and relax yourself. Okay. Now, this 7 in your throat, it's in your throat. I mean, you can scan your whole body, actually. And I'm just putting a note that it was 7 in your throat. Uh, we can check right back into your throat again and see what's going on. How is your throat doing?
I think it's more of like a 3, but I saw that for Mark it has moved to his belly. So
Let
is
me
that normal to just have something shift from throat to belly? So from throat
Okay, Ming,
shifted to the
let me just
belly.
dial you right back. Ah, so it's moved? Okay. Okay, now that is one of the 3 things that can happen. You could have the number in your throat go down,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing, or you could have that feeling jump as it did down to your side of, is it more your side of your stomach, you'd say?
Mm, okay,
So
so
show me.
I'm looking at Mark's reaction, and it is more on the. It says belly, so I think belly. Whoa, belly,
On his
belly.
on his right. Let's see here.
Um,
Uh, let's see. Mark is saying it's more, oh, high up in the shoulder then, on the right. Okay, it's on the
mhm.
right. Um, uh, I'll put Mark on shoulder on right. But you, Ming, how is your throat doing? Let's just go back to that a moment too. and
Mhm.
I'm saying something that you say, no, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Or I disagree. I have totally different idea about this. Let's check back into your throat first too and see, and use even in your own mind a story from your in-laws, or it could be from your children, something that you know, but more from your in-laws, as you say, with the cultural restriction that says, oh yes, I honor my parents. So
Mm.
how is the throat doing on you?
Yeah, it's gone down to like maybe a two. Yeah.
Okay. Now the thing is this: I mean, when it gets down to around a 0 or a 1 or a 2, it's low enough that we could possibly tap in some other choices. What you as a person, if someone says something to you that you don't agree with, what would you rather have your response be instead of getting upset about it? What's a response that you as a person might like seeing yourself doing in the future? And you can pick and choose. You can pick and choose. So we're going from the, uh-oh, that's affecting my throat. You said something I don't agree with, but
Mhm.
I have my mother-in-law right here in my throat. I cannot argue with her. I cannot talk back. So it's right here. But we've gotten that down a bit, and we're saying maybe in your mind there's some other way to handle this. Is there any other appropriate answer that might be good for you?
Hmm.
And I'll throw a couple out. Okay.
Okay.
Oh gosh, that's an interesting thought. I actually don't agree with you, but I'll look into it. Do you know what I mean? Or what's another one? Kind of with humor, saying, "Whoa, okay, I missed that lesson." Which kids would say, "I missed that lesson. Somehow or another, I didn't know about that." Okay.
Hmm.
Or think of your children, what would they say? They certainly will tell you they don't agree with you, and often with a kind way of saying it, though, too,
Mhm. Mhm.
because we can switch our reaction. We're in charge of how we're going to react to this.
Yeah, so I guess I have to figure out how to say what I feel and yet validating their response. Like I can see why you
Figure,
feel that
figure
way.
it out,
And
or that
yeah,
you haven't made up your mind yet on this.
yeah. So all right. So I guess my response would be I can see or hear how you feel. You can feel that way. I can understand how you feel that way. And this is how I view the situation, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is a
Yes.
little different.
It's a little different. Did you want to, even you could say, did you want to hear my feeling on it? Leave it up. Because sometimes I admit my parents, as uh, we're pretty new to this country, and as immigrants, they didn't want to hear what I thought. You know? But this is something we can actually choose. And so we can say, even though I used to feel a constriction in my throat when my in laws said something, I can choose to say, I understand how you feel. Do you want to hear my feelings on it? Yeah, why not?
Mhm.
You have a choice. And you can tap
Mhm.
in the fact that I can choose another way to do this. Okay? So
Mhm.
even though I understand perfectly where they're coming from,
Mhm.
I don't want to end up with a 7 in my throat anymore. Okay?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
you're the one we can change. We cannot change them, but we
Mhm.
can offer you other choices, a way to look at this and say, oh, wait a minute. I accept myself and my feelings,
Mhm.
and I'm accepting that they're doing the best they can. They're
Mhm.
doing the best they can. So
Mhm.
even though I in the old days would get very upset and I'd get a 7 of my in-laws in my throat, I
Uh-huh.
now know I can choose. I could even choose to tap while she's talking or he's talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could
Mm-hmm.
choose to do a quiet tapping like so, couldn't I? Did
Yeah. Oh.
anybody? Oh, they might think, oh, Ming might have a headache, but they're not going to bother you. They'll just say she's thinking about it.
So I'm like pressing on my acupressure points and just like kind of mentally tapping.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. So
Okay.
even now you're going to start to feel this throat though, because you're the expert. You're the expert on your body and what's going on.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And we want you not to be fearful of saying what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But we also realize that we must balance it sometimes with the person we're talking to. And
Yeah.
so, yes, if I'm talking to someone, I'm old enough at 66, but let's say I'm talking to someone who's in their 90s. I realize that there's not a lot I'm going to say that's going to change where they're coming from, but I
Mm-hmm.
could sure sit here and just listen and say, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm.
and tap away any irritation. So the point is for you, for me, at the end of the day, when it comes down to bedtime and you say, did I have anybody or anything that angered me, annoyed me, irritated me? Clear it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Or first
Yeah.
thing in the morning, I say too. First thing in the morning, start off and say, wow, is anything from my dream world? So often I'm a big believer in dreams and, they'll give you ideas, but they'll also give you fears and
Mm-hmm.
worries. I remember after a particular death in my family, I was so fearful and I would dream about terrible accidents happening to my family. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a perfect thing when you wake up and say, wow, what did I have that dream for? Even though I had a fearful dream, okay, and I know it was my dream, it still is talking to me right now, and I accept myself and my fearful feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So even though I had this dream that something happened to so and so, I accept myself and my feelings. So same procedure, same procedure. Um, I am glad we talked about that fear with your parents, but
Yeah.
I
Hey,
know,
Maggie.
yes,
So I'm reading Mark's comments, and he said, like, okay, his comments are not appearing in the right order, so
uh,
we were saying, here and there. So anyway,
oh, I see what
the
you
point
mean,
is
yes.
it moves. It moves from place to place, like from the valley up north again, and so on and so forth. So what would your recommendation be to tap?
That's what we're going to do. We'll keep this fear that he is experiencing, which was in his chest and in his throat. When it moves that way, we have it, I like to say it's on the run, okay? But we're going to keep on tapping. Um, and Mark, too, I see what you mean. These are out of some kind of order.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
seem to be
yeah. Yeah, so it's
uh,
okay. So I guess the
just,
main point is like wherever you feel it, then you talk about it, right? Yeah. So
yes.
Maggie, so wherever you feel it in your body, then you tap and think about it, right? And talk about
Right,
it. Is
right.
that it?
But
Yeah.
as I'm saying this, remember what I just said too about nighttime and morning.
Mm-hmm.
For each of us, try this tapping. I say 1 week, and every night stop a minute and say before you go to sleep, "Whoa, what was I annoyed at today?" And tap to get that down to a 0 or a 1, just to
Mm-hmm.
get it low enough. That annoyance or anger or even it could be a pet peeve. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
get it down so that you go to sleep calmly. And again in the morning, if something jumps in your mind from your sleep time, it's a message to you to do something about it. Okay. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, with Mark's moving, I would still concentrate. Okay, so for example, we started with your shoulder, okay, your right shoulder.
Yeah.
Your right shoulder was a 0. I do not leave the right shoulder or any other point till I get it to a 0 or a 1 or 2, pretty low. I
Right.
don't care about the other pain. Instead, what I do is keep a notebook.
Uh-huh.
And okay, I could have put down right shoulder for you, okay? But we got that down. We got that from 3. I just put 3 and then a 0. Okay. Then I put down throat.
Mhm.
I put down 7. Okay. And we haven't checked back in really to see did it move some other place. But I would stay with your throat. Any other stories that come up, because what happens with tapping, you will remember, your second grade teacher may have said something to you when you tried to express your opinion about something.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or high school. High school is it's a hard time for all of us. High school, you're learning how to get along as an adult with teachers. You're establishing relationships with uh, both males and females, trying to figure out what you're going to do in life. Do you know what I mean? And so when people say something to you, it has may have gotten stuck in your energy someplace, but I believe it may have been stuck right in here because somebody said something after you did a presentation, perhaps. And it also is here with your in-laws.
Mm.
So
So
as you tap,
actually,
yeah,
Maggie, I think
mhm,
in the way that we form memories is like besides the sight and the sound and all that of a situation, we also carry the emotional feeling, the feel of that memory, right? So when something is similar in feeling, it just kind of recalls an earlier memory, and so some seemingly small things can just call up a lot of similar situation memory where you just feel really bad. So it makes you feel very bad. Yeah.
yes. And that's what I meant in the beginning with Ukrainians who grew up in a family of domestic violence,
Hmm.
of which they do have a large problem with this. And so I've been working on Skype with Ukrainians who have been now, because of the war with Russia, they wake up at night and put the television on. They get up in the morning, put the television on. But
Oh.
they're seeing many violence, acts of shooting, acts of a plane crash, so many things going, flashing repetitively
Hmm.
all day that
Yeah.
it's triggering back all these other stories. And
Right.
that's part of, you remember when you know how Dawson works through it too.
Right.
Dawson has you write down and get into Gary Craig's personal peace procedure. Okay?
Hmm.
Gary
Hmm.
Craig said, why don't you write down 50 things that you wish had never happened in your life that still are on your mind? Okay? Or
Hmm.
you could start with just one thing.
Hmm.
But that thing, that one thing, may be 2 weeks of tapping, 2 weeks every day. All
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And especially with chronic illnesses, I find the person has to do a lot of tapping and
Hmm.
they also have to be ready to release that problem. Okay?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
sometimes some people, oh, do you have any friends who just want to hold on to that anger at this teacher for the rest of their life? They keep bringing it up. Do you remember that teacher in chem lab? They were so wrong, blah, 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 blah. And you're tired of hearing it. You're tired of hearing it. But they've got an energy blockage there, and they've got to be ready to let it go, too. Okay? But you're so right. But what I say is whatever story comes up, write it down and then tap on that till you get it way low. 0 or 1 is where,
Uh,
with my clients,
Sponsor.
I want to get it down to 0 or 1. And may I just end, thank you, T Ming, so very much, and remind people that my full name on YouTube, there
Hmm.
are 6 videos.
Yeah.
Dawson Church's EFTUniverse.com, hundreds of videos on all sorts of problems. And
Hmm.
then at Gary Craig's, EMOfree.com, hundreds and hundreds of videos. So you do not ever feel alone, or Skype me. Um, I'm Margaret Hankamp or Ohana Maggie on Skype, and so easy to reach. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, T Ming. And
Thank
anytime I can
you.
be of help or service, um, I know that I'll always be myself. And you're going to know, too, the fear of doing too much is not going to stop you from being yourself. Here's a big hug.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Maggie.
Bye bye.